bleeding purple and gold. From the heart of Los Angeles, this is the LakersNation.com podcast with your host, Trevor Lane.
Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. As always, we are powered by CLNS Media and LakersNation.com, your home for everything Lakers. Well, obviously today's show is not off to the start that we would hope it would be, because the Los Angeles Lakers just fell to the San Antonio Spurs by 1 point in overtime. Brutal, completely agonizing, but all is not lost. We're going to get into a little bit of why there are actually some reasons to be optimistic about the Lakers moving forward, despite starting the season 0-3. We're going to look at some of those silver linings, as well as some of the things that they still need to work on. Now, before we get to that, today's show is brought to you by DraftKings. Go to DraftKings.com/Lakers. You can play for free fantasy basketball. Tons of fun. Also by Lightstream.com. Head over to Lightstream.com/Lakers. You get a special discount on credit consolidation. And Robinhood. Go to Lakers.Robinhood.com for free stock. That's right, free stock. Just go to Lakers.Robinhood.com. Go check it out. We'll talk a bit more about those companies a little later. So again, the Lakers actually lose. They are 0-3 on the season. I'm not even bringing in a guest tonight. It's just going to be me, you and me, guys. We're going to get through this. We're going to talk about everything that's going on in the world of the Lakers and what needs to happen for this team moving forward. They've got to get a win. I thought for sure they were going to get a win here against the Spurs, especially when they came back at the end. They came back from 8 down with just over a minute to play in regulation to tie it up. LeBron hit a 3 from the Great Western Forum. I mean, he fired it from so far back. It goes in. It seemed like everything was moving in the right direction for the Lakers as they head into overtime, and somehow it just wasn't meant to be. LeBron misses 2 free throws at the end and then misses the potential game winner. I guess let's not even worry about beating around the bush here. Let's get right into it. The topic that so many people are talking about right now on Twitter, the officiating, which I don't always like talking about officiating, because sometimes we can use officiating as an excuse, as a way of taking the responsibility off of the coaching staff, off the players, off of the franchise, the organization, when you don't want to do that. Right? I mean, everybody is responsible for their own actions, for their own choices, and it's not always the official's fault. But in this game, I thought the officiating was particularly bad. And that isn't always the case. But in this game, I thought that the Lakers were getting called for a lot of fouls when they were defending or trying to defend guys like LaMarcus Aldridge and, of course, DeMar DeRozan. And then they weren't getting those same calls on the other end. And Luke Walton was fired up after the game. He was livid with the officiating. He, in particular, pointed out the fact that Josh Hart, he plays a particular style. Right? By this point, you know it. Josh Hart does 2 things. He shoots threes or he attacks the rim. That's what he does. He's like the Houston Rockets style offense, only in a Lakers player. So he's either going to take a 3 or he's going to attack the basket. You rarely see Josh Hart settle for a mid-range shot. So given how often Josh Hart attacks the rim, it was shocking to see him play 39 minutes, almost 40 minutes out there, no free throws. Didn't earn a single trip to the free throw line. Major surprise. Meanwhile, at the other end, you've got LaMarcus Aldridge firing up 18 free throws. 18. DeMar DeRozan had 9. Overall, the Spurs were gifted 38 free throws to just 26 for the Lakers. Obviously makes a big difference in the game, and Luke Walton was not pleased. JaVale McGee winds up fouling out of the game. So what's going on here? Are the referees out to get the Lakers? I don't think it's anything quite that nefarious. However, there's some things happening. And one of the things that's happening is that the NBA has started to enforce the game a little bit differently, to ref the game differently than they used to. And what they're doing is something called freedom of movement. They're trying to call more plays where a player's being impeded or little bumps here and there. And these are really adding up. The negative side of this is that we saw this during the game. LaMarcus Aldridge, all he had to do was turn and lower his shoulder and drive into someone. That was it. Just drive into someone and it's a foul. The referees are calling that as a foul. In fact, JaVale McGee fouled out on a play where he was trying to avoid contact. He didn't even really make contact. It was right at the beginning of overtime. He goes straight up, and Aldridge kind of spins around him, and JaVale is doing everything he can to not touch Aldridge, but Aldridge kind of brushes past him, and the refs called that as a foul, and that was it. JaVale was out of the game from there. And so this is going to take some time to adjust. LeBron talked about it after the game. So the Lakers are going to need to adjust to the way the game is officiated. We're seeing this across the league. Players are struggling to figure out how to play the game now just because it's being reffed a little bit differently. I think that's going to regress. We usually see when there's a rule change like this, we see it really enforced strictly at the very beginning of the season, and then that kind of wanes as the season goes on and things sort of regress back to more or less to normal. So we shouldn't see these issues so much in a few months, but obviously a tough pill to swallow tonight against the Spurs when these kinds of calls wind up really hurting the Lakers. And we saw the same thing against the Houston Rockets. And that's part of why the Lakers are so fired up. I mean, that's why Brandon Ingram pushed James Harden and is now suspended for 4 games because he started that whole brawl. And Rajon Rondo was suspended for 3 games because of the way the game's being officiated and because players are taking advantage of it and getting what's perceived to be cheap fouls. And I think the danger here for the NBA is if more players are starting to realize what they need to do in order to get the foul call, which is just drive into somebody, anybody nearby, just drive into them and you're going to get a whistle. At least that's what we saw from Aldridge tonight. He did it to Jonathan Williams a few times. Then you're going to wind up with a much slower paced game because the whistle's going to be blowing constantly. You're going to have players looking for fouls and things like that. But again, it's going to take time for us to adjust, us as fans as well. Watching the game, we're taking a look at it. We're seeing things happen out on the floor. We're not used to being called as a foul. And so we respond with shock and outrage and all that. There's certainly that element of it. So again, not all on the referees here, not even all on the new rules. I think it's just going to be an adjustment period. But I will say, I thought the referees were also sort of anticipating contact that wasn't there. They were assuming that a player was going to make contact with a Spurs player. There were a number of times when the Lakers challenged a DeMar DeRozan shot and then were whistled for a foul, even though it seemed like they did a nice job of avoiding contact. And we saw that happen with LaMarcus Aldridge as well. There were a few times where a player goes up to contest, and that seems to be being called a foul now. So it's becoming more and more difficult to defend in the NBA at this point. We know the league wants high scoring. We know the league is going to emphasize offense. But at some point, teams have to be able to play some form of defense. And right now, it seems like they're really cracking down on that to the point where playing defense in the NBA is probably harder right now than it ever has been in all of history because of the way the rules are now set up. So that certainly didn't help the Lakers tonight against the San Antonio Spurs, and it's something to keep an eye on moving forward. LeBron James, let's talk about him for a minute, because there are a lot of people that are ripping him to shreds on social media, and I thought Dave Schilling did a really nice job of Bleacher Report of mentioning that, hey, you know what, LeBron took a bunch of flack for coming to Los Angeles, right? So it took a bunch of flack with people telling him, hey, you're coming here not for the Lakers, not for basketball. You're coming for Hollywood. You're coming for movies, for everything else, for the business world, all the other things that come with being in Southern California. You're not coming for basketball. Well, we see what's happening to LeBron here. The Lakers are 0-3, and he's getting ripped to pieces. People are saying, oh, he's not Kobe, and using this as a way to bring him down, which, I mean, that's kind of what haters are going to do. They're going to jump all over whatever they can find, right? And that's keyboard courage as well. We see that online. But this effect, LeBron had to know that in Los Angeles, with the Lakers, everything is going to be magnified. Everything he does is going to be magnified, good and bad. And in this case, it's bad. So knowing that, doesn't it take a bit of courage to put yourself into that situation? He's already LeBron. He's already under the microscope. And to magnify that to the nth degree by coming to Los Angeles, that certainly takes some courage on his part. He must have felt strongly that the team could find success on the basketball court because no one wants to go through losing as a Laker. We always talk about how great it is to win as a Laker. Losing as a Laker is rough. It's not as bad as like losing as a New York Knick, where the media just chews you to shreds. That's not the same. LA media is much nicer. We're kinder. We're more gentle here in Southern California, I guess. Maybe we're a little bit more relaxed. But overall, it's still LeBron making this leap. He had to know this was a possibility, and now he's got expectations on him. And so he's out there trying to get a win, knowing that, hey, he's going to catch some heat if the Lakers aren't able to get that W. So, I mean, you got to respect him a little bit for that, for knowing that pressure is going to be there. And I thought he played a fine game. I thought he was just fine. I think we're seeing a little bit of a few things going on with LeBron. We're seeing a little bit of mortality, right? We're seeing that LeBron actually is human. He's been missing some shots. He got blocked by Rudy Gay. I mean, nobody would have expected that would have happened when he spun on him and attacked the basket with his right hand, which is not his preferred hand, but he attacked the basket with his right hand and Rudy Gay blocked it. You know, we're seeing some little mistakes, some turnovers, things like that out of LeBron, but then we're also seeing him not fully engaged. And maybe engaged isn't the right word, but we're seeing him not fully pushing down on the gas pedal all the time. And that's a LeBron that understands that it's a long season, it's an 82-game season, and what it takes to get through it all. But then even when he did turn it on, towards the end of the game, when it was time to win, there were still plays that were just a little bit un-LeBron-like. So that could be him ramping up and getting used to the season, getting used to his teammates, and kind of getting his body where it needs to be. Or it could also be that, hey, he's going to be 34 years old in a few months, and he's not immortal, and so maybe we will see a slightly diminished LeBron, which is still probably the best player in the league. He's still amazing. I think about some of the passes that he threw out there and the trust that he showed in teammates. It's going to be a lot of fun watching him play this season. I'm going to take a quick break to talk about DraftKings. Basketball season is finally back, and you know what that means. It's time to put your basketball knowledge to the test with one-day fantasy basketball at DraftKings. DraftKings is giving away over $400 million. That's right, $400 million in prizes this season. That's more than 10 times what Los Angeles is paying the king himself. I love fantasy basketball. I love fantasy sports in general. Fantasy basketball, though, is near and dear to my heart. It's how I got started in fantasy sports. No matter what your skill level is, there is a contest waiting for you at DraftKings. Drafting your team is simple. Just select 8 players and stay under the $50,000 salary cap. Earn points when your players score, assist, block, rebound, and more. And you get to draft a new team every day. And drafts are one of the most fun things to do in fantasy sports. So download the app or head over to DraftKings.com now. Use my code LAKERS to support the show and play free with your first deposit. Remember, there will be $400 million in total prizes up for grabs throughout the season. Again, use that code LAKERS. Play for free with your first deposit. Only at DraftKings. Minimum $5 deposit. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details. Speaking of teammates, one guy that we have to talk about, and I think we may have just made a definitive argument in one game, which I didn't expect to happen at all, but Kyle Kuzma. Good Lord, Kyle Kuzma. The Lakers have been asking him to play backup center, right? He's been the 5. And then Brandon Ingram gets suspended. Rajon Rondo gets suspended. Suddenly the Lakers need somebody to slide into that starting small forward spot. I thought it was probably going to be Lance Stevenson. Luke Walton goes a different direction, goes with Kyle Kuzma. Technically, LeBron, I believe, started as the team's small forward. Kyle Kuzma was the power forward, but whatever. It doesn't matter. He was on the wing instead of being the backup 5, which the Lakers have been asking him to do. It was kind of a role that Julius Randle took on a lot last season, and Kuzma's been struggling with it. And for the last few weeks, we've been hearing what's been going on with Kyle Kuzma. What's happening? He doesn't look like the same guy on either end of the floor. His defense, he's struggling to figure out reads. He's struggling to call things out for his team. It just doesn't look right. And then on offense, where you would think that he would be the man. He would be having a great season. We heard all about the amazing work he did in the offseason. We thought that he was going to be the guy that was going to really step up along with Brandon Ingram. Those two were going to become the Lakers' go-to wings. It wasn't happening. He's missing all these shots. He just looks out of sorts. It looks like he's uncomfortable in the offense. It just doesn't look right. Kyle Kuzma looked just wrong in so many ways. And suddenly this game against the Spurs, he gets flipped back to the wing. He's no longer playing that backup 5 in small ball units. And what does he do? 15 of 25 shooting, 4 of 10 from 3, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 37 points. 37 points from Kyle Kuzma. I think Kyle Kuzma just made in 45 minutes a definitive argument that he is not a 5. Period. End of story, right? We've been seeing him struggle, and he slides back into a wing role, and he instantly looks more comfortable, looks like his old self, and drops 37 points. So what does that mean for the Lakers moving forward? If this is definitive proof that Kyle Kuzma is not a 5, and maybe I'm going too far with that, because I still think he can moonlight as a 5 at times. I think he can slide in and play a little bit of center every now and then. I just think you don't necessarily want Kyle Kuzma as your backup 5, as your go-to permanently. I don't think you want him as the guy that you're counting on night in and night out to be your reserve. I think in a pinch or against certain teams, like against the Houston Rockets, who don't really run a backup center, who run more of a small ball lineup like the Lakers do. Same thing with the Golden State Warriors. Against those teams, I think you can go ahead and run Kuzma as your 5, but I'm doing air quotes. You guys can't see it. I'm doing air quotes because he's not a true 5 in that scenario. You don't ask him to go and bang with guys like Nikola Jokic. You don't ask him to go and bang with some of the big guys in the NBA. You don't want that. Okay, we've seen that. We've seen that wasn't working. Miles Plumlee went nuts. Again, or was it Mason? Whichever Plumlee is on the Denver Nuggets went nuts in the preseason against the Lakers, right? You don't want Kuzma in that role. But on the wing, he's brilliant. He looks comfortable. He looks aggressive. He's doing a great job. So if that's the case, that Kyle Kuzma, in order to unleash him, you need to put him on the wing, whether it's at small forward or power forward, doesn't matter. You put him on the wing in order to unleash him. What does that mean for the Lakers long term? Well, it means Brandon Ingram has a new backup at small forward. You're using him there. I saw some people even arguing on Twitter tonight that Kyle Kuzma should be the starting small forward and Brandon Ingram should be the guy that's the backup. I don't know if I'm ready to go that far just yet, but I think it means that you have to use Kyle Kuzma there. And I think there's plenty of minutes there. LeBron James is not going to play 48 minutes. Let's say he plays 35. Well, there's 13 minutes right there that you can be playing Kuzma at power forward. You're going to have to stagger your rotation a bit, but if you want to slot him in at small forward as well. Again, Brandon Ingram probably going to play, 32 minutes a night, maybe 35? So then you're looking at close to 30 minutes right there for Kuzma as well. You've got to give him all the backup small forward minutes, all the backup power forward minutes, and kind of mix the lineup. Make it a 3-man rotation between small forward and power forward with LeBron James, Brandon Ingram, and Kyle Kuzma. I think if you do that with those 3, you can get enough minutes for all 3 of them. Maybe you toss some small ball minutes at Kuzma at the 5 spot here and there just to get his minutes up high enough for him to truly be an impact player. But I think this is it. I think this is where the Lakers have to go and what they have to do with Kyle Kuzma. Now, this isn't happening in a vacuum. So if you do move Kuzma into that role, what else has to happen? Well, you're probably taking minutes away from Lance Stephenson, who I thought actually played really well tonight and played pretty well against the Houston Rockets. Got to give him credit. I was down on Lance Stephenson coming into the season. I thought he was not a good signing, wasn't pleased with it, but yet here he's performing. He's done okay. I mean, hey, 17 minutes against the San Antonio Spurs, had 4 assists, thought he made some nice plays. He was actually a plus 17 on the night. He was part of a nice run that the Lakers had. So I think in spurts, Lance can be fine, but he's probably going to have to find some minutes at the backup too. And frankly, given the way KCP is playing, I almost wouldn't mind seeing Lance Stephenson as your backup 2 instead of KCP, or absorbing some of those minutes at the 2. And we'll get to the shooting guard position more in just a minute. Again, ripple effect though. If Kyle Kuzma isn't your backup center, who is? Well, did the Lakers just find him? If Ivica Zubac came in, who we would think would be the guy, and he struggled. He struggled against LaMarcus Aldridge. And let's not rip Zub too much here, folks, because LaMarcus Aldridge is legit. This guy is an all-star. He can play. Right? Asking Zubac to go in there and check him is not easy. You're not asking him to go guard a second string player. You're asking him to guard one of the best bigs in the entire NBA. Right? So you're giving him a mountainous task. right? Not easy. So, hey, Zoo, yeah, he got shredded by Aldridge, but you were kind of expecting that at that point. But Zoo goes in, ineffective. He's struggled quite a bit. He's had a few flashes where he's looked okay, but I'm not convinced he's the guy, right? And I know Lakers fans aren't either. Our big concern right now is the backup center position. And if Kyle Kuzma's not going to do it, and we can't count on Ivica Zubac to do that, who's left? Mo Wagner. People keep saying Mo Wagner, Mo Wagner, Mo Wagner. He's a rookie. He's been hurt. He missed all of training camp. Luke Walton even said today that it's going to take some time for him to get up to speed, even once he's fully healthy. Once he's cleared, that doesn't mean you're going to see Mo Wagner suddenly run out on the floor and be Madman Mo that we saw from Summer League. No, it's going to take him time. He's going to have to get his wind. He's going to have to get his conditioning up. He's going to have to get used to the speed of the NBA game. Look at what's going on with Svi Mykhailiuk. Svi tore up Summer League, was one of my favorite Lakers. I know a lot of you feel the exact same way. Svi Mykhailiuk was amazing. Against the San Antonio Spurs, he played 17 minutes, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, no points, 0 of 2 shooting, and he looked pretty shaky out there from time to time. 2 turnovers, struggled a bit defensively. He just looks unsure of himself. Svi looked great during the summer. He even had a nice game to close out the preseason, but he's a rookie. It takes time to adjust. Not every rookie can hit the ground running. We know that all too well. Look at Brandon Ingram. He was terrible his rookie year. It takes time. So don't assume that Mo Wagner is going to step on the floor and come to the rescue and be the backup center for the Lakers. But what about Jonathan Williams? Jonathan Williams is on a 2-way contract, had been cut by the Lakers. I watched him during Summer League. I thought there is no way this guy's making the team. His offensive game is so rudimentary. He basically has, he can dunk and he's got a left-handed hook shot. That's it. That's his offensive game. He occasionally will take a jumper, a 15-footer or so, but it's not pretty. I don't think it's something you want him doing consistently. I thought, oh my gosh, okay, maybe this is a break glass in case of emergency type player. You can just throw him out there to hustle, and that's about it. You know what? Against the Spurs, he was phenomenal. He played crunch time minutes. He played valuable minutes. The Lakers needed someone who was a little bit quicker on their feet and was able to sort of disrupt the rhythm of LaMarcus Aldridge. Not that he was able to stop Aldridge, because he wasn't. Nobody was stopping Aldridge. But Jonathan Williams made big plays. Kind of like a more Larry Nance Jr. version of a center position. I'm talking about a guy who's got a little bit quicker feet, can guard a little bit on the perimeter, occasionally block some shots, do things like that, but isn't particularly bulky, isn't going to box out guys like crazy or anything. But look at what Jonathan Williams did. 14 minutes. He was 4 of 5 from the field because he kept it very, very simple, just doing, basically putbacks, 4 rebounds and 3 big blocks. I mean, he was blocking shots that other guys weren't getting to, and I was really impressed with his verticality. He did a very nice job of contesting without fouling. And that is an art form in and of itself. That is not an easy thing to do, to go straight up at the pace of an NBA game when you've got an NBA athlete flying at you, to be able to go straight up, keep your arms up, and still get your hand on the ball and block a shot. I mean, the timing, the skill, everything has to be perfect, and Jonathan Williams did a great job at it. Can you expect that of him every night? No. He's a rookie too. He's going to have bumps in the road. He's going to have nights where he gets the ball and he commits a turnover, he fumbles it away, he blows an easy shot at the basket, and then you go, oh yeah, this is why this guy's just on a 2-way contract. This is why they're expecting him to spend most of his time in the G League. But I think against specific matchups, in certain situations, he can give you what he did tonight, which was go out there, provide energy, provide hustle, and make plays. So maybe the Lakers turn him. I certainly think that he deserves a look in their next game coming up against the Phoenix Suns. I think that you give Jonathan Williams a chance to build off of this. I don't think he's the savior at the backup center spot. I think that he still has to show a lot more. I think this is just one game. But hey, you know what? He looked better than Zubac. He looked better defending down there than Kyle Kuzma does. Maybe that's not saying a whole lot, given how poorly those two have looked defending in the post. But you know what? Right now, the Lakers will take what they can get. Because if Jonathan Williams doesn't work out and we're waiting on Mo Wagner to come back, you're talking about going and digging through the bottom of the barrel. We're talking about guys like Joakim Noah. We're talking about Emeka Okafor. Certainly veterans who've been around the league for a long time, and I don't want to speak ill of them, but are those the guys that you want as your backup center? I don't know if they can really play that role or not, but somebody's got to be there behind JaVale McGee. Otherwise, the Lakers are going to continue to get hammered on the boards. And I thought they actually won the battle of the boards against the Spurs, which was part of what kept them in the game, even when the Spurs were shooting lights out, which they pretty much did all game. They shot 54% from three. It's ridiculous. But the Lakers need somebody to fill that backup center role, somebody to grab hold of it and say, no, this is mine. And I think Jonathan Williams has earned himself the first crack at it. Again, I'm not going to say that he's won it, but hey, props to Jonathan Williams for stepping up. I didn't imagine seeing this out of him when we saw him in Summer League. I would have never expected it, and that shows growth. That shows that he's getting better as a player. And so, yeah, you have to give him credit. We're going to take a quick break to talk about your credit. Have you ever looked at your credit card statement and been shocked by the interest rate? I know I have. Did you know you could actually roll all of your credit card debt into one monthly payment at a lower fixed interest rate? Lightstream offers credit card consolidation loans from 5.89% APR with autopay, which is lower than the average credit card interest rate of over 18% APR. Take it from me, guys. I know interest rate can be crucial. Make sure that you guys take a look at this. This helped me out a ton when I was in credit card debt in my early 20s. So make sure you guys give this a look. Get a loan from $5,000 to $100,000, and you can even get your funds as soon as the day you apply. Lightstream believes that people with good credit deserve a great interest rate and no fees. Lightstream even plants a tree with every loan they fund. Isn't that great? They plant a tree with every loan that they fund. My listeners actually get a special discount on top of Lightstream's already low rates. And the only way to get this discount is to go to lightstream.com/Lakers. That's lightstream.com/Lakers. Subject to credit approval. Rate includes 0.5% autopay discount. Terms and conditions apply, and offers are subject to change without notice. Visit lightstream.com/Lakers for more information. I mentioned very briefly the shooting guard spot. And I mentioned that Lance Stevenson might have to get the backup center or backup shooting guard minutes, and that would mean Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, KCP, would see his minutes cut. Now, obviously, that is implying that Josh Hart will take over the starting role. Look, I get it. Hashtag Start Hart is a thing. There are people on Twitter every single day now asking, begging for Josh Hart to become the Lakers starting two guard. You know, I know we're only 3 games into the regular season, but we have seen pretty much nothing from KCP. He has been invisible out there. He's struggling to adapt to the new lineup, to the new pace the Lakers are playing at. Right now, they are 3rd in the league in pace. He's struggling to adapt to the sort of improv sets that they're doing. They're not running a whole lot of. Last season, KCP was run off a lot of screens, a lot of curls, things like that, getting open looks that way, where the team was trying to get him open shots. Now he has to kind of improvise a bit more, and it's not suiting him well. Defensively, he's been struggling. He's having a tough time. But here's the thing. Luke Walton gets it. He sees it. The coaching staff sees it. I know, hashtag Start Hart. Everybody wants to see him in that starting role. And yes, I think it's going to happen sooner rather than later. But look at what's happening already. Don't get so focused on who's starting and who's not that we lose sight of who's playing the most minutes and who's not. Because Josh Hart played 39 minutes against the Spurs. KCP played 19. And KCP didn't do anything in those 19 minutes that would suggest that he should get more minutes. He just didn't. He hasn't. And I still like KCP. I thought KCP was phenomenal last season from about January on. He was an excellent shooter for the Lakers. He shot in the low 40s from 3. Thought he did a decent job defensively, though not quite as good as his reputation would suggest. But he was a good player. And I still think that player is in there. He just hasn't figured it out yet. Magic Johnson was raving about how he was different this season, how he looks like a completely different player. Well, maybe that's not a good thing at this point. That's got to be what Lakers fans are thinking. But again, don't get so hung up on who's starting and who's not. All right. yes, there's a major argument to start Josh Hart, but KCP's got to get minutes somewhere. And if Luke still feels like keeping him in the starting role is maybe keeping his confidence a little bit up, whatever confidence is left after this really rough start, or that it's allowing him to build some familiarity with some guys that are also veterans, guys like LeBron, guys like Rondo who had been in the starting unit, then hey, he's got some other reasons. It's not just which player is better and then whichever one is the best automatically gets the starting job. That's not the way the NBA works. That may be the way it works most of the time, but there are still plenty of instances where the better player has come off the bench because it fits the team better, because it fits the team's chemistry better. And I think that's what Luke is going for. I wouldn't be surprised to see Hart in a starting role soon, but where we're at right now is that KCP is still starting, but Hart's playing the majority of the minutes. And that's becoming a bigger and bigger divide as the season goes on. And again, tonight's game isn't going to do anything to change that. Josh Hart was phenomenal. 10 rebounds, 2 steals, 20 points out of Josh Hart. 8 of 14 shooting, 4 of 7 from 3. He makes big plays. He's feisty. He's tenacious. He is willing to do whatever it takes on the defensive end. He attacks the basket on the offensive end. He's a great shooter from 3. My goodness. I mean, they found this guy with a 30th overall pick. And Josh Hart, I saw somebody on Twitter, I think it was Ben Rosales, said that Josh Hart right now is better than the January on version of KCP from last season. And that's a high bar to clear. People don't realize how good KCP was last season, but I think he's right. I think this version of Josh Hart, the Josh Hart that we're seeing right now, is even better than the best KCP we saw last season. So yes, I think he's going to continue to get the majority of the minutes. Maybe he starts, maybe he doesn't. But let's not freak out at Luke Walton over which one is starting, right? What needs to happen is already happening. Hart's getting the majority of the minutes, right? That's the important part. From there, everything else will sort itself out. So again, I'm not too worried about the whole start Hart thing. I think that the bigger thing is already happening. He's getting the minutes. Guys, we're going to pause for just 1 second to talk about Robinhood. No, I'm not talking about the guy that's shooting a bow and arrow. I'm talking about the investing app. Robinhood is an investing app that lets you buy and sell stocks, ETFs, options, and cryptos, all commission free. They strive to make financial services work for everyone, not just the wealthy. It's a non-intimidating way for stock market newcomers to invest for the first time with true confidence. It's simple and intuitive, has a clear design with data presented in an easy to digest way. Guys, I had always wanted to get involved in stocks, but I was always a little bit hesitant because it seemed like there was such a steep learning curve, and I was afraid, I didn't really know what I was doing. I was gonna mess up. Robinhood has been invaluable. Absolutely love using this app. It's so simple, so easy, and I have learned a ton. Robinhood has no commission fees. Other brokerages will charge up to $10 for every trade, but Robinhood doesn't charge commission fees. So you can trade stocks and keep all of your profits. It's super easy to use. They have easy to understand charts and market data. You can place a trade in just 4 taps right from your smartphone. Robinhood has a web platform that also lets you view stock collections like the 100 most popular sectors like entertainment and social media, and curated categories like female CEOs and analyst ratings of buy, hold, and sell for every stock. You can learn by actually learn how to invest as you build your portfolio. That's what's really helped for me. The best way that we learn is by actually doing things, and Robinhood is a great way to do that with the stock market. Discover new stocks and track favorite companies with a personalized news feed, and you get custom notifications for price movements so you never miss the right moment to invest. Now, Robinhood is giving listeners a free stock. That's right, and actually a free stock like Apple, Ford, or Sprint to help you build your portfolio. Go to lakers.robinhood.com to sign up. That's lakers.robinhood.com to sign up. Go check it out. Don't be intimidated by investing on the stock market. Do like I did. lakers.robinhood.com. Let's move up one position. Lonzo Ball. So Rajon Rondo started the season as the team's starting point guard. And that made a lot of sense. Lonzo Ball's coming off of injury. So no question, Rondo, he's the healthy one. He's got his wind. He's been conditioning. He's ready to roll, played with the team through the preseason. He's a veteran. Cool. Plenty of reasons why Rajon Rondo is the team's starting point guard to start the year. But everybody kind of had it in the back of their heads that, hey, at some point, Lonzo Ball is going to reclaim his throne. He's going to take the starting job back because Lonzo Ball is the guy that's going to be here, in theory, okay, going to be here long term. This is the guy the Lakers were so excited about, drafting number 2 overall. Magic Johnson said he's going to break all of his records, all that craziness, right? That all happened, and the Lakers still believe in Lonzo. So Lonzo is going to be the team's starting point guard at some point, right? Well, it appears that's already happened. Okay, Lonzo is by default the starting point guard because Rondo is suspended. But if Lonzo keeps playing the way that he did against the Spurs, if he can continue just at that level, and he's nowhere near his peak, he's nowhere near the level that he can play at this. I'm not even talking about seasons down the road. I'm talking about this season. He's nowhere near that. But if he just plays at this kind of mid-tier level that he's at right now, I think he's going to keep this starting job. I think that Rondo comes back and Lonzo Ball hangs on to the starting job because he's played well enough and he deserves it. And we just see that transition of power a little bit sooner than we expected. We thought that Lonzo would be given a bit more time to kind of ramp things up. And lo and behold, the suspension of Rondo kind of pushes him into the starting job. I don't think Lonzo's going to give it back. You look at what he did. No, nothing that really jumps off the screen. But hey, in 33 minutes, he was 3 of 7 from 3. That's huge for him. Right? His big issue last season, or one of them, was his shooting. He could not shoot. The guy was one of the worst shooters in the league for a while. Horrible from the free throw line. Could not make a basket. His horrible form or his funky form was just getting ripped to shreds. And people couldn't believe that this guy was supposed to be the next big thing in the NBA. Well, you know what? 3 of 7 from 3. He's been shooting really well. He was 4 of 8 last game against the Houston Rockets. You will take that from him all day because you know what's going to happen is if he keeps shooting like that, he keeps shooting for threes at that level, teams are going to have to cover him. And when teams have to step out and cover him, that pulls defenders out of the paint, that opens up the middle even more. It frees up the entire offense for the Lakers. Okay, so shooting so far so good. Check. 5 of 9 from the field, 3 of 7 from 3. We'll take that. 1 of 2 from the free throw line. But you know what? 2 free throws. He missed 1. No big deal. 6 boards, 6 assists, 1 steal, 14 points on the night. Looked pretty comfortable most of the time. Sure, he made a few errors defensively. Of course, the big one was the read on the Patty Mills jumper that ended up winning the game. He just didn't stay attached to Mills. It was seriously a fraction of a second. He shut down for a fraction of a second and Mills slipped away, and that ended up being the difference in the game. But you know what? Lonzo will learn from that, and I thought that overall he played a nice game. Right? Again, it wasn't like an insane triple-double game like we've seen from him in the past, but it was good enough to where you feel pretty confident with him as the team's starting point guard, and I think it's going to stick, especially if he can follow up this performance with a good game against Phoenix and then a good game against Denver. And then by the time Rondo comes back, I think Ball will be sort of ingrained as the team's starting point guard. And then we see Rondo with the second unit. And I think that's a good thing too. You've got a experienced point guard running with the team's second unit so that you don't have Lance Stevenson having to handle the ball. You don't have LeBron having to create a bunch. Rondo can do those things. And I thought Rondo played really, really well the first 2 games. Actually was fairly aggressive offensively. I'd love to see him a little bit more willing to pull the trigger on threes. But if Rondo can keep playing the way he was with the starters coming off the bench, I think the Lakers have a really interesting guard combo there at the point. So yeah, I think Lonzo Ball winds up sticking at point guard as long as he can keep this up. We'll see what he does in Phoenix. He had last season, I'll never forget this one. Last season, Lonzo Ball struggled, right? His first game against the Houston Rockets. Patrick Beverley went after him. This is when Lonzo was being hyped to the moon and LeVar Ball was out there saying all these crazy things. Speaking of which, we haven't heard from LeVar Ball in a long time. It's kind of nice. I'm not going to lie. It is kind of nice that we haven't heard much from LeVar Ball lately. But Lonzo is hyped to the moon, and Patrick Beverley gets after in the first game. People are worried. Oh my gosh, did the Lakers blow this pick? The Lakers roll into Phoenix the next night. They have a back-to-back on the road in Phoenix this next night. I remember talking to Rob Pelinka before the game. Serena Winters was with us at the time, and Serena and I were sitting there, and Rob Pelinka stopped by and we were chit-chatting, and he shared that he was nervous. This was before the game. He was legitimately nervous about this game because this was going to set the tone, right? And he wanted the Lakers to get a win, and they did win. They wound up beating the Suns. It was a back and forth game. They barely won at the end, but Lonzo Ball was 1 assist shy of a triple-double. He went from a horrible performance at home against the Rockets to being 1 assist shy of a triple-double. In fact, he kicked the ball out to Brandon Ingram, who missed a shot right at the end of the game that would have gotten him the triple-double, so it didn't happen. But Lonzo Ball played really well in Phoenix. If he can duplicate that, if he can do the same thing here on Wednesday night when the Lakers take on the Suns, then I think he's going to be in a great spot to hang on to that starting point guard spot, which really is probably the best thing for the Lakers moving forward. All right, that's enough on Lonzo. We talked about Svi, we talked about LeBron, we talked about Kyle Kuzma. I think I've hit on most of the main points so far. So let's take a step back now from this one game. Let's step back a little bit and let's look big picture. And this is something I always like to do. When you're in the moment, you can get caught up in a lot of things. You can get caught up in, the live and die world of the result of one game, where it can feel like, oh my gosh, the sky is falling because the Lakers lost, or it can feel like it's the greatest day ever because they won. But then when you step back and you realize that it's still just one of 82, there's 82 regular season games. There's still a long, long ways to go. But that doesn't mean that this is meaningless. 1 out of 82 isn't nothing, but it's not something to get too worried about either. But this is what we want to start looking at. So the Lakers started the season 0-3. The Western Conference, we know, is going to be rough. It is going to be difficult. It's going to be a dogfight getting into the playoffs. There is a group of teams that all could make the playoffs, that all could be in there. I mean, hey, I'm not even going to write off, say, the Memphis Grizzlies. Marc Gasol and Mike Conley, those guys get rolling. I think they can do some damage. Dallas, I think, is better than people are expecting. Of course, Portland, we were thinking they were going to drop off. New Orleans looks like world beaters suddenly, and we were expecting them to be a team to kind of bow out of the playoff race. So the West is going to be a dogfight. And you really can't give away games. And so there's got to be a little bit of concern that, hey, 0-3, will these losses, especially the one against the Spurs, tight game, they go to overtime, you end up losing by a point, you miss a couple free throws, miss a potential game winner jumper, and is that going to come back to haunt them? In, say, 77 games, are we going to be looking back on this one thinking, man, that's the one that got away? If they had won that one, they'd be in much better position. Maybe that it's the difference between them being third and fourth or something, but maybe it's the difference between being in the playoffs or not. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but these close games do add up. So as much as we want to pull back and say, no, it's not a big deal, there's still plenty of basketball left to play. Yes, there is, and that's correct. But at the same time, knowing how difficult the West is going to be, you don't want to see this happen too often. So it's really important that the Lakers start to win here, that they use this next game against the Suns. Don't take it lightly. Yes, Phoenix is better than they were last year, so you're going to have to go get after them. Devin Booker can play. Devin Booker can do things. DeAndre Ayton is no joke. He's a good player. Josh Jackson, he's a gamer. He's going to get up and get after you. And because the Lakers have LeBron, and because it's the Lakers, those guys on the Suns are going to be taking this game as though it is the most important game of their lives. Maybe that's a little bit of hyperbole. I'm going a bit farther, but they are going to be giving you their best shot. All right, that's the reality of having LeBron James on your team. You're going to get the other team's best shot. So the Lakers have to be ready to get out and play, and if they do, they should get a win. But they got to get it done because you got to start racking up some wins. In the West, it's going to be so important that they win their winnable games, that their games against teams they should beat, they take care of business and they get the job done. That's going to be the real differentiator between a playoff team and not a playoff team. And that's going to mean cleaning up some of the mistakes. We saw a number of defensive mistakes again tonight, although I do think they're getting better overall. But right now, and again, we're only 3 games in, but as of right now, this Lakers team is 25th in defensive rating. Now, they're playing at the third fastest pace in the NBA. They're 9th in offensive rating, so not bad there, but they've got to clean up that defense. They can make such a big jump up in terms of their quality as a team if they can move up in the defensive rating. So that's going to be something to watch moving forward. These next few games, watch how Luke Walton adjusts. Watch how the Lakers defense adjusts. Watch how they communicate. If that's something they can pick up quickly, then we should see this team start to pick up wins, and we can all exhale a little bit and assume that they're going to go ahead and start on that playoff trajectory. Because right now they're not quite there, but they're close. Their offense has been good enough. Now it's a matter of getting their defense to be, if they can at least be average defense. If their offense is going to maintain this level all season, especially in transition, then we could be watching something special in just a few months. I think that's about it. I think I've covered pretty much everything that we need to talk about coming out of a rough loss against the Spurs. I think there's still plenty of reason to be excited about this team. I mean, my goodness, Kyle Kuzma blows up. We've all been waiting for that. Hopefully this is the game that really gets him going. Hopefully this is the revelation that he needed, that the Lakers need to play him on the wing, and that's going to happen from now on, and then the Lakers can kind of march forward from here. Yeah, they're shorthanded, but hopefully when Brandon Ingram and Rajon Rondo come back, they'll be coming back to a different team, a team that's ready to really get out there and roll and get their pieces in the right spots. And hey, let's hope to see more solid play from Jonathan Williams. All right, guys, I've gone on plenty long enough. Let me know what you think. What were your thoughts about the game? Do you think that this Lakers team is on the right track, or are you one of those people that thinks the sky is falling and oh my gosh, it's doomsday at this point and the Lakers have made some serious mistakes in the way they've constructed their roster? Or maybe you're somewhere in between. Let me know. What do you think, and what should the Lakers do with their rotation from here on out? Should Kuzma be a center? Should Hart be the starter at the 2? How many minutes should guys get? Just give me your thoughts. Go ahead and respond. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're on the Lakers Nation YouTube channel, go ahead and respond below. If you're on iTunes, give us a rating and review, 5-star rating preferably. Leave it in your review. Give me your thoughts on where the team's at. Or if you're checking this out on LakersNation.com, of course, reply in our comments section there. My name's Trevor Lane. You guys can follow me on Twitter at Trevor_Lane. Thanks everybody for listening, joining me tonight as we go through all of this stuff. Make sure you guys head over to LakersNation.com. There, it's your home for everything Lakers. And before I get out of here, I can't forget, go find us on Apple News. Ad-free for the month of October. We have, about a week and a half left here in October. Go check us out. Get the news delivered directly to your mobile device. Certainly an easy way to do it. I love it. Go check us out. Find our channel on Apple News. Lakers take on the Phoenix Suns on Wednesday. We'll be back with another episode shortly after to talk about that and where the team's headed from there. Thanks again for everybody for listening. Till next time. See ya.